Funding for This Is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Music City Prep Clinic, Nashville-based provider for PrEP and offering comprehensive sexual health services in an environment designed to be safe, professional, and shame-free. Learn more at musiccityprep.org.
I'm Blake Farmer, and this is Nashville. One of the things I'm learning about being part of this show now is that you have to be careful, because if you have an idea, you are very likely to be the one who's going to see it through. Our managing editor, Tasha A.F. Limley, ran across some crazy-looking hot rods. And these were not muscle cars restored to their original beauty, maybe with a few flames added for flair. No, these were entirely new creations made from bits and pieces of other cars. They are works of art, sometimes abstract, chopped, lowered, tilted, totally reimagined. She learned that this art is part of something known as Kustom Kulture, spelled with K's there. It's been around for decades, but now it's up in our grill today. To get a better understanding of what drives this subculture, she decided she had to go to the big gathering here in Nashville, the Redneck Rumble. Take a listen.
Kustom car culture. What is that?
I have no idea.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go try to figure out.
Good luck.
I'm at the Redneck Rumble out in Lebanon. Here to figure out what in the world Kustom Kulture is. Kustom car culture. What is that?
It's here. Okay, Redneck Rumble is a little bit different than most of your car shows because you have the full customs, the full-blown show cars, and the rat rods here. Everybody gets along. You have a millionaire parked next to a guy that's on a fixed income. Nobody cares. They don't care. It's a gathering of car people. John Grimm, we're from Mayfield, Kentucky, and we come no matter what. We just love Redneck Rumble.
And then this pink thing behind you, okay.
That's custom.
Has that been chopped? That's a new word I'm using.
Yeah, it's been chopped, the roof's lowered. I would call that one a lead sled.
And so you're saying there's different kinds of car culture. So you said full customs, and so I'm getting the sense that like a full custom is not restoring something to its original state.
Not at all. Not at all. Just completely, you might use the body and everything else is more modern. And then you also have street rods. Street rods are, in my opinion, the 30s and 40s cars that have been modernized. They've got, new drivetrains in them and where you can drive them every day, but they're still a 1930s, 40s car. And then you have the rat rods, which is more creative. You build and you add stuff to it that's unusual.
What's an example?
Well, right here, this Willis, everything from the door latches to the door steps to how you get in, is stuff he created out of old parts and different stuff. It's build a car out of what you have. So look, for example, this right here is a wrench that's meant to use a die to tap pipes, and you put a hook on it for pulling. For hinges, he used old chains and welded them stiff. I guess that was an old door knocker. I don't know. It's got a 80s model Ford F-250 chassis under it, and he put old Willie's body on it, and you can drive it anywhere. The rat rods aren't supposed to be clean. They're supposed to be rough.
I mean, it's a little Mad Max, honestly, right?
Exactly. You can guess who is Square Barbie from looking across the parking lot.
Why square?
That particular year model truck is called a square body.
Got
body.
it.
She calls it Square Barbie. So y'all want to meet Candace?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, I'm Candace Ballard, born and raised in Georgia. Ended up moving up to Tennessee because I absolutely fell in love with the car shows. My 1977 Chevrolet C10 is called Square Barbie. The truck and God built this journey because it wasn't supposed to be pink and teal. It wasn't supposed to be named Square Barbie. I wanted kids to want to come talk to me and not feel like stranger danger. I love getting more girls into the automotive world, so I'm kind of like on a mission.
Is Square Barbie a rat rod? What is she?
She's her own entity. She's her own thing. It makes you step out of your comfort zone and kind of question, like, so is it a hot rod? Is it a rat rod? Is it a mini truck? Like, what is it? And she's just different. And that's what I was going for.
You did it this week, right?
Yeah, about 8 hours before the work, just something I felt like doing. Just junk, basically.
What is your name?
My name's Cooley.
Okay, so Cooley, what are we looking at for radio people?
What do you want to look at? This whole row?
Well, I like the idea that you were about to come to this Redneck Rumble.
Yeah.
And you went, I'm going to throw together one more thing.
Yeah,
And this is
exactly.
amazing. So what are we looking like?
This is you've seen the little coolers like that people ride around, the little electric coolers.
Yeah.
At car shows and whatnot. Well, this is my version of it. Yeah.
So you've got okay, I know nothing about any of this, so these are my layman's terms for
I got you.
people maybe like me. So you've got, I'm a short person, but you've got a large wheel in the back that maybe comes up to my hip.
Yeah.
Then you've got a red, what is this called? Red
Radio
Rider.
Flyer wagon.
Radio Flyer wagon. So that the red part of that is connected
A lawnmower engine.
to a lawnmower engine.
And the front end is an old, is like just a cheap four-wheeler, like little kids' four-wheeler.
This is amazing. So yeah, of course you're not surprised that
Yeah.
other people love this.
Yeah, and just stuff like that.
Well, I mean, I mean, maybe I'm getting a little bit floofy about it, but it seems like you are taking really warm parts of childhood and
Yeah, exactly.
like you're bringing that into some really grown-up toys.
Yeah, exactly. It's actually a pretty expensive hobby. You know, some of these rat rods can get to be $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 rigs, you know. And then you got a cooler cart that I've got about $30 in.
So Cooley, a word I heard recently that I didn't know what it meant and I still don't really know, is this custom culture?
It really is. Yeah. Well, everybody's going to have a different definition of that, you know. Custom to one person might be junk to somebody else. And custom to somebody else might mean they have to give big money for it.
That was a thing of beauty from Tasha A.F. Lemley, the managing editor of This Is Nashville. Yeah, I call her boss, but she's beating the streets today to get you the story on custom culture. And in the studio with me, we've got two builders based in Lewisburg, Tim and Carrie Strange, owners of Strange Motion, wearing their shirts. If you want to see them, we're streaming on YouTube, and you're welcome to watch today's show at the Nashville Public Radio YouTube page. So join us there. But to you all, welcome to This Is Nashville.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
All right, so did we get the terminology right there on the rat rod, lead sled, street rod, the lingo? Do you need to set us straight anywhere?
No, that guy did really pretty good job. You know, rat rods aren't usually polished and shiny.
Right.
They're very creative. We personally don't build rat rods, but I appreciate the hobby is so big and very inclusive for all kinds. You can come and be part of the custom car culture, come to a show. You don't even have to own something cool. You can just be a fan of it or the music or just the people are super awesome.
Well, 30 years, the Strange Motion has been around, but you haven't been in Tennessee that long. How did you make your way to Lewisburg to set up?
I started my shop when I was pretty young, actually before we were married, but we were dating. She was doing my interiors, just because that's, small town, everybody.
Doing the interior of the cars,
yeah,
Carrie
she
was.
did the interior
Okay.
for a full time for like 15 years. And, starting to get known, national awards, magazines. We've been very lucky with magazines. I don't know if the younger generation remembers magazines. There's still some, but now it's the internet and the YouTube. And, but I came down and volunteered. The Power Block shows that were on Spike TV back then, now, it's changed and they're on different networks and stuff. They're filmed here in town in Franklin.
Yeah.
So I got asked and volunteered on a show. A few months later, they flew me down for a screen test. 14 years ago, we moved down. I did Search and Restore TV show here in Franklin it's Power Nation shows now. They've changed, kind of rebranded. So,
yeah, well, the custom culture is all over parts of cable TV. But I wonder, what's your all's assessment, Carrie, of custom culture in Middle Tennessee? I mean, I'm guessing there are plenty of people you might run into who don't know the first thing about it.
There's a lot of people that don't know a lot about it, but it's really big in the Tennessee area. There's a lot of car people, in this area.
What have you seen since you arrived?
So I'm in the events industry, so I put on car events. So that it's kind of my life. So we go to car shows all the time. There's a lot of cruise nights in town in the area. About every town, Spring Hill has a cruise night. Out at Nashville Super Speedway, they have a Saturday cruise. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people you'll see just driving down the road, driving to work, in their hot rods and their customs and their modern cars even that they've customized. So.
Well, what is it that draws people to custom culture? I mean, I could imagine it might not even be the cars. It might kind of be the scene sometimes.
A lot of times it is. It's the people. The people in the hot rod community are amazing people. They're the people that are going to, help the next person, with either a missing part or, very rarely are you going to see somebody alongside the road in a brand new car and have somebody pull up to help them. But if you see a hot rod or a custom car alongside the road, people are going to stop and help them.
Because they have a sense of a community with that person.
Exactly.
Do you all drive a custom car usually, or do you drive the Honda like the rest of us when you're just going out?
No. So I work from home, so I don't drive very often.
Okay.
When I'm not at an event, I'm at home. I do have a custom car, and it's a 64 purple. Everybody thinks it's pink, but it is a purple Corvair.
This is the one that really stands out. For those who saying the word Corvair does not bring an image to mind, can you give them one?
So Ralph Nader is very famous for the Corvair.
Okay.
The Corvair used to have the motor in the rear. We customized it, basically built a new chassis, and the motor is in the front. So if most people know, and since I built my Corvair, everybody comes up to me, and I say everybody on the size of 40 or 50 and up. I used to have a Corvair when I was younger because they were more budget friendly.
Yeah. Well, someone who's on the show later this hour, when he arrived today, shook your hand and said, we might have met, but I definitely know your Corvair.
Yep.
This thing has a reputation. If you're just tuning in, I'm Blake Farmer. This is Nashville. We're talking custom culture in Middle Tennessee today. Reminder, we're streaming on YouTube. If you want to watch instead of just listen, it's at the Nashville Public Radio YouTube page. I'm with Tim and Carrie Strange, who work from their base in Lewisburg. Tell me about this shop in Lewisburg. It's a former Pontiac dealership. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, local Nashville people can fully understand this. When we first moved down to the TV show, we had a quick apartment in Franklin. When you're trying to buy commercial property in Franklin, you kind of add a zero on the end of other places around. One of the coworkers at the TV studios told me about an old building in Lewisburg, so that's why we landed in Lewisburg. It's a Pontiac dealership, was built in 1923. We like old cars, we like old buildings, and it looks abandoned from the outside.
Still?
Yes, because it's weird because we don't do a lot of local work.
It's not about the retail business.
Yeah, and when I'm in there, I kind of want left alone. My doors are locked. There's not a sign on the building. I'm by appointment only.
Wow.
Tim will talk cars all
Yeah,
day.
she says I do it.
Oh, you don't want people to come in?
Yeah, they can come, but they got to have an appointment. Yeah, because I won't get anything done. But yeah, we work on everything in there. Our newest vehicle in the building is a 1970 that we're currently working on.
Wow.
It is the newest.
So you talk to me about that, your business, because you all moved down from Illinois, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything local about the business, or is it you might be making a car for somebody in California, New York, another country?
Yeah, this industry's kind of weird. Yeah, we've got a couple local people. We got a military lady's car in there right now.
Who's local, you're saying?
Yeah, she was a Black Hawk helicopter mechanic.
Interesting.
Yeah, awesome lady. And we got another guy local. We got a Kentucky car in there. But like the hot rod guys are kind of weird. Like I got a buddy in New Jersey. His customers come from California. I got a California guy. He's got a car in there from New Zealand. And he's got a car from like Maine.
Is it because they're almost not chasing, but they're looking for the artist, someone with the aesthetic that they want?
Yes. If you would let me and Murpho and Colette that are just coming up here this afternoon.
Going to be on the show. Who you know well.
Yeah, and we do a podcast. They're this week's guest on our podcast.
How about that?
You give Murpho a 50 Merc, or Murpho a 50 Merc, and me a 50 Merc with no guidelines.
Yep.
They're both going to be cool, but they're going to be slightly different. It's the artist The builders, some of these guys are collectors, like collect art or horses or boats or whatever like that. And so if they want a certain style, they'll seek out Murpho or us or somebody else. Everybody has their own style. Yeah, we build what the customer wants, but everybody has their own little style in this industry, and that's what makes it cool.
It almost sounds like it would be primarily something that only people with a lot of disposable income could get into. Is that the case?
Not really.
It seems like it, but we'll still do the guy building in his garage and is like, oh, can you just build this new firewall or fix the rust in the floor pan for us? We'll still do that.
He's doing some in his garage, but
like,
says, can you help me take it to another level or something?
Yeah, like I used to do some stuff for this older gentleman that had a normal, like an oil change shop.
Yeah.
And he'd bring me something. It's like, can you put the shifter linkage on, or I'll pay you to come over and help me with this. And he goes, I've learned I can always find somebody I can pay to fix what I screw up. So that's a lot of what this is. Yes, we build complete turnkey cars like somebody's building a brand new house. They pick the colors. We have an artist draw body modifications. But there's also guys like, hey, can you just put this LS motor in it? Or can you put disc brakes on my car for me? So there's a lot of that. It's not full builds, and we try to make the people happy with their cars so they can get out and enjoy them.
Carrie, you guys do seem to be pretty passionate about kind of bringing in a new generation of folks who want to work on cars. But do you sense that young people these days are naturally interested in this sort of custom culture, working on old cars?
They are interested. We do work with a lot of the schools. We've got in Marshall County, we've got a really good program, the Spot Low program, and we go in and talk to the kids. And it's just a different, like Tim said earlier before we were on the mic, is we're from the 1900s.
To the kids. You said to the kids.
To the kids.
Back in the day.
So it's just a different type of car customizing that they like. They're just customizing, different years and different types of cars. And, there's a lot of customizing. When you say custom culture, a lot of people think chop tops and tailpipes and, dragging tailpipes and that kind of stuff. But, customizing cars, we do a huge event in Bowling Green every year, and it's an LS Fest event, and it has to be an LS motor. And there's
LS
a lot
meaning
of
what?
LS is the type of motor.
Okay.
So, and it's a huge event, and there's a lot of people that are swapping their motors, and you might have a Ford body with an LS, which is a GM power plant, so that's a custom. They're customizing everything.
And that event's so popular, they get 80,000 spectators through the gate at that event.
And it's a good bringing in the generation, because it's not just about sitting in your lawn chair.
Well, what is, as we wrap up here, Tim, what is a good entry point for folks who are like, I used to love these cars. I don't know what they're thinking of. How does one sort of dip your toe into this realm?
Well, it used to be back in the street rods, the 48 and olders, they started with T-buckets because a lot of companies made a fiberglass T-bucket. Little roadster, no top, little truck. It's so small it makes my knees hurt just thinking about riding into them. And then when I got older, like my first car was a 55 Chevy, then a Chevelle. And now like the kids, like if they're into trucks, you can get an S10, like an 80s square body S10 for pretty affordable. You can buy lowering stuff. You can throw, we're around the BMX industry too, so you can throw your bicycle in the back. A Corvair like Carrie's, they're not high dollar cars. Those are a good entry point. Trucks are super hot. So trucks, everybody's farm uncle or dad has a truck sitting out in the barnyard. So get something and just start working on it.
Make plans for that S10 that's sitting out gathering rust. Tim and Carrie Strange, thank you so much for sharing your work and joining us in the studio at This Is Nashville.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we meet some builders who relocated to Nashville more recently, as well as a local enthusiast. And a reminder today, we're also streaming on YouTube. If you want to watch at the Nashville Public Radio YouTube channel, go right ahead. Either way, stay with us. This is Nashville.
Funding for This Is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Music City Prep Clinic, Nashville-based provider for PrEP and offering comprehensive sexual health services in an environment designed to be safe, professional, and shame-free. Learn more at musiccityprep.org. Funding for This Is Nashville comes from Burr and Foreman Law Firm, serving clients with transactional, litigation, and regulatory needs. Discovering how each client defines a win and working with them every step of the way to achieve it. Burr.com.
I'm Blake Farmer, and this is Nashville. One of the questions we're trying to answer on today's show is about how custom culture is growing and evolving in Middle Tennessee. That's Kustom Kulture with K's. Maybe new to some in the audience, many in the audience, but it has been around. And we're joined by some relative newcomers to Tennessee, longtimers in custom culture, to kind of give us some of that broader picture. Murpho and Colette moved from Austin, Texas to Tennessee to open Nash Speed on the east side. Welcome to This is Nashville.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
All right, so why Nashville? You had a pretty big operation, I think, in Austin. Texas is known for big builds, kind of a big custom culture. Why Nashville, the east side?
Well, I think it kind of was an evolution. We did small in the beginning. We became a bigger shop in Austin. And I think that really was it. It was big and it was becoming unwranglable, I guess, in a way. And Colette and I decided that we wanted to scale back and get more hands-on and start getting back to kind of our roots with the builds and the passion,
What does back to the basics mean to you, Colette?
When you have if you have a bigger shop.
Because you have, 15 people working there?
Yeah, so it becomes unmanageable sometimes, right?
Yeah, you become a manager.
Right. And that does happen. So scaling it back and getting more, just focus on each task is a lot better than being so all over.
So what do y'all like to build?
What would you say we like to build?
I think we really like to build 50s style customs.
50s?
Very traditional hot rods. Although we do a bit of everything, we really do like 20s to 70s. So, we do a lot of service and upgrades,
Which
AC, disc brakes.
One of your very own here in our shop.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
We have Tasha. And
Tasha, our managing editor, I think she has an old bug, right?
Yeah.
70s?
71.
71. So the bug is in your shop.
The bug is in our shop, yes.
Yeah.
She was asking when it's going to be ready, but we'll ask off the air. How would you assess the custom culture scene here? I mean, I'm guessing it's not like where you came from. And has it been beneficial? Is it growing? What are you seeing?
I think it's very big here. Actually, I think that there is a ton of what I'll call old car stuff going on in the community. You can
old car stuff,
cruise-ins, car shows.
So people that might not put a label of custom culture on it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I would call it hot rodding.
All right.
Right. And then I would say that custom culture is sort of a subculture of hot rodding.
Well, and what makes it? What are some of the telltale signs? Oh, like this is a custom culture crew. Like, how would you know rolling up to a parking lot that had a bunch of cars that I've rolled up on a KK event?
Well, I think it's kind of different for everyone, but to me, it's a lot of lead sleds, chop tops, really low cars.
Lead sleds, meaning that sort of low-slung 30s, 40s, kind of look like it came from one of the Cars episodes that has some of the, in the animated series.
I would describe them to me as tail draggers. They're kind of low in the back, and they got that swoopy top that kind of
it definitely has a look.
Flows down to the rear.
I do. If you're just joining us and wondering, what on earth are they talking about? We're talking about custom cultures, the culture this hour. That's Kustom Kulture with K's. Reminder, we're streaming on YouTube. If you want to watch at the Nashville Public Radio YouTube page, feel free to flip over. We're talking to Murpho and Colette, who moved here to start Nash Speed on the east side. I want to also bring in local enthusiast Donald Walker. Welcome to This is Nashville.
Thank you, Blake. I appreciate it.
Well, how did you get into custom culture?
As a young child, I had a cousin that had an old truck, and I was about 10 years old. I would ride my bike down and just stare at that truck. It sat in his backyard, and it just took off from there, and I never stopped.
Was it local here to Tennessee? Or
no,
elsewhere?
I'm from a town called Fort Wayne, Indiana, up in the northeast corner of Indiana.
Yeah. And then made your way down here to Murfreesboro, right?
Right, correct.
So what did, would you have called it custom culture back then?
To me, I just would have called it hot rod trucks because that's what I was. That was my thing.
So what's the overlap here with, Murpho and Colette's work, but are there sort of similar events that you all would go to?
Yeah, the culture itself of custom cars, it has a mix. Cars, trucks, motorcycles, vans, they all blend over.
So which section of it do you put yourself in?
Mainly in the trucks, but in the custom, not necessarily 100% stock. I like a little bit what they call resto mod, which is basically the body and everything looks stock, but underneath the underpinnings, the motor, transmission, the suspension, air conditioning, comfort things that makes it enjoyable to drive, say, from here to Pigeon Forge.
So it looks like a car that has just been fully restored to its original beauty. The thing is, it has AC and the brakes don't squeak or whatever.
Correct.
Okay.
And it's comfortable.
It's comfortable.
Yes.
Does Nash Speed do that kind of work?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do a bit of everything in hot rods, and in our shop you'll see a big mixture: trucks, hot rods, sometimes a gasser, dragster.
The dragster is in kind of like a drag racing.
Right.
Yeah. What makes it a drag racing kind of a vehicle? Like
Well,
bigger
they're-
wheels in the back?
Yeah, like a narrowed rear end with wider tires to have traction, skinny tires in the front, and it's just designed to go straight and
down
fast.
the track. Yeah.
Is that right? Well, Donald, I wonder what you see when you're going out to car shows. Do you see kind of a younger generation also getting into this?
More and more, yeah.
Really?
And they're more into the import market. They'll take a Civic or something of that nature, whereas I might have been looking for a 72 Chevelle with a 396. They're trying to see how can they put more horsepower in a four-cylinder.
And I guess that's just sort of the generational
Yeah,
change.
that's what they know.
Yeah.
That's what they know.
So what was this, you mentioned being fascinated by an old truck as a kid. What was it about that vehicle that kind of captured your imagination?
As a 10-year-old, it was different. It had fat fenders, and most of the trucks of that era, of the late 80s, of the early 80s, they had what you call fleet side bed. Beds were flat. There was no curvature to it. There was no artistic feature to it. It was just a box.
Yeah.
But a 1956 Ford F-100 is curved all the way around.
Yeah.
It just caught my eye.
Well, I can imagine it would. When did you actually start, doing your own work?
I got my first one in 1988. I got a 53.
53 what?
Ford F-100.
Okay.
Yep, 1953.
What'd you do to it?
Just put a different motor in it, put a different suspension on it, redid the interior a little bit, and I've owned every. There's an era, 53 to 56. I've owned every year. I've only driven the 53 and the 55, but I've owned them all.
Wow. When you say you've only driven it, what do you mean that you?
Because you buy and you have plans, and then you move on to something else. So,
then you think, you know what? Maybe that I bit off more than I could chew.
Exactly.
Well, How does Nash Speed operate? We were just hearing from the strangers about folks. You might get a custom order from scratch. You might also get somebody who's doing their work in their garage and saying, can you help me do this thing?
Yeah.
What does Nash Speed get?
Yeah, we get all of that. We have in the shop right now, I think, cars from 5 or 6 different states.
Yeah.
And some of them are complete restoration. Some of them are
Frame-up
complete
builds.
custom, but literally ground up. And then we have other cars in the shop that are there for something particular, like a AC upgrade or a tune-up.
Because I guess they need someone who knows their way around this car to
Or
do
new
it.
wiring.
We have somebody like you were just referencing who had a project that they were working on for some years, and then it got stagnant sitting in the garage, and they finally realized they didn't have the wherewithal and the time to do it, and he brought it over and said, I just need you guys to finish it.
It happens.
Yeah. Well, so does it? Is it more work than you can handle? Is it mostly local, or is it mostly coming from out of state? What's that look like?
Well, we're new here, so we brought some projects with us from customers from out of state, and now we're starting to have some
we do have a
influx
couple
of Nashville
local,
people. Yeah.
Is there anything, Colette, about being like locally sourcing things? Do people find like an old car and wanna, or do the cars? If somebody even local wants you to build something, it might be based on a car that they got in Montana or something.
Sometimes they have them. It was their grandparents. Sometimes they're sourcing for them, or then they find something on, a good marketplace or eBay, or, Yeah, so
I'm dangerous on Marketplace.
yeah, a lot of people are.
You know, it seems people say kind of California set the tone for this culture.
It did.
It did. So
it's the epicenter.
It's the epicenter. What is it? Do local places, cities, kind of develop their own flavor of it as well? And is there anything you've seen in Nashville?
Absolutely.
It's like, oh yeah, in Nashville you see more of this.
I would say definitely there's a very strong West Coast style, and there's a very close, very strong East Coast style.
Coast,
And it seems though that most of the trends kind of come from West to East. But here in Nashville, you see a bit of everything.
Yeah.
What would be the difference between West and East?
Which direction they slope.
No way.
West Coast cars slope to the back, like I was referring to before, as like a tail dragger.
Tail drag, I see.
And East Coast cars slope to the front.
Yes.
Down in the front as opposed to down in the back.
It's just the look.
But Donald, but your truck's not tilted. I'm sensing.
It has a stance.
It does have a stance.
They all do.
To the front.
Yeah.
They all speak to you.
Yes.
To the front. You're saying it wasn't made that way, but that you wanted it to be that way.
Right. Be low in the front.
Yeah. Talk to me about this because, not that, I mean, I'm guessing, Donald, your truck probably doesn't have any flames or skull and crossbones on it or something, right? It's
just look like an old shop truck.
Yeah.
Like some you would see on Andy Griffith.
Well, I like that. It does seem that whether it's the aesthetic of custom culture or it's the restored cars, you could imagine there's a certain type of person who's drawn to it. I'm thinking of Tasha's piece was from this thing called a redneck rumble. It's like, well, the word redneck suggests the event might have a certain kind of person, probably white.
Right.
But I'm sensing that it's not what it is, and that it's kind of welcomes all comers. Is that what you've experienced?
Oh yes, it is. I've even vended at Redneck Rumble. So
yeah.
It's a welcoming. The car culture is open to everyone.
Yeah.
It has no boundaries.
Yeah.
It has no boundaries.
What does that look like? You had talked about car people kind of being demographic blind. What do you mean?
By that I mean if you're a car person and we have a common interest, we're going to be connected by the cars. Mm-hmm. But even outside of the cars, like Carrie was mentioning, I'll help you outside of that. If you know something that I need, whether it's with my home or whatever, if I'm going down the road and I see you stopped, I'm going to reach back and help you with demographics aside. Because you're a car person. And car people help one another.
Even kind of the role of women in custom culture. I mean, I'm sensing that this is not like, oh yeah, the guys are working on the engines and women have their smaller role. Colette, can you talk about that?
I hope more women do get involved when it comes to building. Like Carrie, she does upholstery. I didn't even know that, so I was like, hey, that's something cool I learned about her
Making
today.
Connections, and
she's super awesome. But I do hope more women do get involved because it is kind of. I mean, there's female drivers, there's all kinds of, women, up and coming, but I hope more and get involved, especially with the kids too, not just women, younger generations as well. Yeah.
Well, is there something that scares people off about cars? I mean, I can imagine people just thinking, I think that this is cool, but I'm not a car person.
I don't think they get scared. I think they just don't know that they could, rebuild metal. It's just metal. You can cut it out. You can do it again. Well,
I was looking at a video from your shop. Y'all are welding everything.
Yeah.
I mean, that
it forms, it bends. If it's wrong, cut it out. Do it again.
Yeah. Well, Murpho, you had a point.
Well, I was just going to mention that Colette fabricates. That she shapes metal, welds metal. She's in the shop, getting dirty and burned and all that, every day.
Yeah. Is there anything still missing from this, this welcoming attitude among custom culture? What would you like to see in regards to like inclusivity? Is it mostly just that new generation?
Yeah, new generation.
Yeah, I would love to see more interest in young folks coming into the scene, so to speak, and having the interest to try and get involved and keep it going. I think that from the outside looking in terms of the cars and the culture, I think it's something where people are gravitating to it if it just is aesthetically pleasing. They like seeing the cars at first, maybe. But I would encourage everybody who's listening to take the opportunity to go to something local to a show and bring a kid. Yeah. Bring a kid to a car show and give them the exposure and the opportunity to see if it's something that hooks them.
It sounds, though, kind of like obviously it's a business for you all, a lifelong career. A lot of folks, it's primarily a hobby, and you think, well, if people don't want to do it, why do we need to make them do a hobby or something? But is there anything about the work, this restoring or re-envisioning something that is old, that also has some sort of like historic significance? I mean, you're talking about restoring cars that, were from an era.
Well, cars, I think, are a huge vein of Americana.
Mm-hmm.
I think that America could be described as a car culture. Yeah. I mean, whether it's looking at it from an artistic standpoint like we do, and old cars, if you think about it, everybody has a car. It's a commonality for everyone, regardless
if you live in Tennessee, you certainly need one.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think from that standpoint, it's really just a part of America.
Donald,
and the world, I guess.
Well, Donald, what would your pitch be to folks, like why maybe it's a little more than just a way to spend your weekends and pour your money into something?
Because you make lifelong friends, and then you also find people with common interests, like we were talking about with the young folks and the older. They can all have a common interest around the car, and then they can learn from one another, because a young person probably can teach you something about technology, and then in return, you can teach them how to set points. So it's a lot of sharing that could go on.
All right. Listen, this is a show about what binds us together, so you're making my point for me. Murpho and Colette of Nashville, thank you for joining us on This is Nashville.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it.
We're going to take a quick break. Donald Walker here is going to stay with us through the break. Then we'll also bring in a musician to close out the hour. How about that? That's right. Of course, there's a songwriter, Kustom Kulture crossover. This is Nashville, after all. Stay with us.
Funding for This is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Music City Prep Clinic, Nashville-based provider for prep and offering comprehensive sexual health services in an environment designed to be safe, professional, and shame-free. Learn more at musiccityprep.org.
I'm Blake Farmer, and this is Nashville. We're closing out our episode with a little taste of the music of Kustom Kulture. Local hot rod enthusiast Donald Walker is still with us, and he's going to sing us something. Isn't that right? Oh, okay.
No, he's not.
No, and we welcome singer and rockabilly artist Jane Rose sitting across from me here. Thanks for joining us on This is Nashville.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Well, and if you want to tune in, not just on your radio or your smart speaker, wherever you're listening, we're streaming on YouTube today, Nashville Public Radio's YouTube page. Go there. You can watch it or go back and watch later. Jane Rose, the real question is, when did your music start to cross over into Kustom Kulture?
I think it's always been there, but I would say closer to about 2010 when I moved to Nashville. I started following that rockabilly, neo-rockabilly genre.
Okay.
And I really feel like that kind of goes hand in hand with the Kustom Kulture or hot rod, because the music is a throwback to the 50s rock and roll.
Yeah.
But I've
so
always
like
loved
the cars, it's a throwback.
I think so, yeah.
Well, let's. There's no reason to hold off. Let's go ahead and listen to part of one of your songs. This one's called "Left Lane Boogie."
Take I-40 where the cops don't go. Let it unwind, do some rubber on the road. Left lane boogie, drive it fast. Oh, drive it hard, drive it fast till you run out of gas. Oh, left lane boogie, kick the pedal to the floor. Give it all she's got, give it till there ain't no more. Hey, left lane boogie.
That is an aptly named song, "Left Lane Boogie" by Jane Rose, sitting across from me. We're enjoying that. If you like me, sometimes people use terms like rockabilly, and you think, I'm not sure I could tell you what rockabilly is. That was rockabilly, folks. So, but I like your point, Jane Rose, that it's a throwback to the same era that a lot of the cars in Kustom Kulture are a throwback to. Was that intentional?
I don't know if it was intentional or just hand in hand, because it seems like it was such a was such a different time where people were looking for a more positive future. The cars were so creative. The music was a new music, and then the cars, coming out with such great designs. It was the cars of the future, and the music of the future was rock and roll. And, it's like now we look back on it, we're like, well, I don't think the cars got any better.
Well, they run a little longer, but yes,
Yeah.
maybe a little more efficiently. But I don't see many people trying to restore. I won't name any cars. Donna Walker, you go to a lot of car shows. What kind of music do you take in at car shows?
Mainly like rockabilly and
Really?
then like 50s and 60s musics of that era. That's basically what you hear at most car shows nowadays and cruise-ins.
Well, so like a crew, where is this happening? Just kind of when people have the car pulled up, you've got the hoods up, you got people kind of pawing over all the cars. There's some music just going loud to kind of set the mood.
Just for the backdrop. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So does it feel like there is one kind of music for custom culture?
I think if I had to say, just from my exposure to it, I would say it probably is rockabilly.
Yeah.
That's the main or the majority of what you hear when you go to a cruise-in or a car show. Predominantly cruise-ins, because cruise-ins are normally on a weekend, on an evening, or Cars and Coffee, and you hear laid-back music like that.
And Cars and Coffee is kind of like a Saturday morning kind of
Saturday
gathering.
morning, 7 to 10
Yeah.
of that era. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so you pull up to one, and you're put in charge. I don't even know if this is how it works, of the soundtrack. What do you put on?
If I were there, it would probably be 50s and 60s music. Probably more of the 60s because I'm a child of the 60s.
Well, I respect that.
Yeah.
Jane, your music feels kind of like an extension of this entire aesthetic. So I wonder, how do cars and kind of the style, even your fashion style here, kind of all come together for you creatively?
Oh, my goodness. Well, the cars inspire songs, like what you just heard with Left Lane Boogie.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an inspiration. I have another song called Mopar Car that is 100% inspired by my 65 Dodge Dart.
All right, tell us about that car. You drive it, correct?
Oh, yeah. It used to be my daily driver for years. And then she just needs a little bit more work than I can afford for a daily driver. So she would have been here today if she'd have said yes. But
you really
said no.
tried?
Yeah.
What happened?
She needs a battery. It's so simple, but I swear those old cars, they just drain batteries.
Is there something unique that they draw on the battery all the time, so they're just more likely to not start? Yeah.
Usually she starts. But
Well, where did
today,
this
no.
1965 Dodge Dart come from?
So I got it from somebody in Lebanon, Tennessee. They had gotten it from California. I've had it now for probably, nearly 10 years now. And other than just upkeep, I haven't done anything special or custom to it. I'm just really happy that it runs.
Yeah, some days.
Most days.
So
yes.
what is it? Yeah, why does that car mean something to you in particular? Is it just like, listen, if I'm going to kind of be part of this crowd, I got to have something to show up in?
I just enjoy the car. It puts a smile on my face. When I'm on these Tennessee back roads and I'm just cruising about 55, 60, there's just something about the way that car, it floats. It just feels good.
Yeah, Donald, can you appreciate that kind of that it just has a different feel? Although it sounds like yours at least has air conditioning in it now.
Yeah, and I echo what Jane said. It's the cruising the back roads, just getting a release from life. Man, it's just 2-lane road, just nice and easy.
Mm-hmm.
And then the connection with my truck, the truck that I have, I had a truck before. My dad taught me how to drive a column shift in it, and that's what makes it memorable for me.
So this is a car that you have a clutch, but it's 3 on the tree or something.
Yes, and many people can't do that.
I don't know that I've ever done it. I pride myself on my stick shift abilities, but I don't think I've ever had it on the
different.
tree. Why does it feel different? Just because it's on the wheel and the wheel wants
It's
to
on
turn
the wheel,
while
and you
you're...
have to the orientation of it versus it being in the floor.
Yeah. Jane, I'm curious. You're obviously an artist all around. You've mentioned that custom culture is all about kind of creating something from what you've got. Especially as we heard at the top of the show, people who are making these rat rods from any number of things. But yeah, I wonder, is there a something akin to that's the process for you with music, that you're sort of taking the pieces that you've got and putting them together?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, for rat rods and some of the custom hot rods that are not considered a custom, where it's just kind of pieced together with, well, I've got that works, I don't have tons and tons of money, but I've got this really fun vehicle that I've put a lot of work into. I've taken bits of my life and put into it. And I definitely could see that with music, because songwriting, I've taken bits of my life and put into my songs and put it into something that I enjoy and that I hope other people enjoy too.
Yeah. Well, looking ahead, what would you hope for the custom culture scene in Nashville? What would you hope that it looks like 10 years down the road?
I hope it continues to grow. I think it will. I think it's the cars and the art that is around the whole custom culture thing, between music being the art, visual arts of these custom vehicles, or, hot rods that have been pieced together. There's something about doing it with your hands and about creating something. And I feel like it's going to appeal to the younger generation as they get fed up with all of the technology that takes away being human, if that makes sense. We get down to the nitty gritty of things because you're doing something yourself.
Are you saying there's something almost about driving the 1965 Dodge Dart, whether it's been souped up or not, and maybe that it's not, that is kind of like listening to a record instead of listening to Spotify, or putting the screen down and reading a real book?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, are you? Is that the ethos of the custom culture crew that meets up all over the country? I know you do. Murpho and Colette, who were in here, said they met you, I think, in Austin sometime when you were playing at one of the shows down there, perhaps.
Yeah.
What do you see all around the country?
It's a family, honestly. It's such a small community. It is a family. Like you were saying, car people stick together and they do take care of each other. I've had my really old van that I don't have anymore break down on me, and I've had to reach out to my friends in the hot rod community and say, hey, my draft shaft just literally fell out on the highway. Help.
And the crew is there.
And they come and they help. It is a family.
Donald, are you more the helper, or have you been the recipient of help when the car is not doing what it's supposed to on the side of the road?
Both.
Really?
Both. I've had my truck run out of gas, and I had a friend that bring me home, and I'm sitting in church the next day playing with numbers in my head because my fuel hand didn't work accurately, and boom, it was out of gas. So. Oh,
you thought you'd broken down?
I thought I'd broken down.
What you'd actually done is run out of gas.
Run out of gas.
And he calls himself a car guy, folks.
But it's an experience and memories, right?
That's right.
Well, what about on the helping side? When has this happened?
I have friends that I'll help from time to time, help do different things that they need done. I'm always willing to help somebody.
Yeah.
And mainly I love chasing parts, so somebody say, hey, I'm looking for this.
So you just get excited.
And I'll find that part.
Where does one find the parts that you might need if you're not paying the big bucks for somebody else to do it?
Either Marketplace, eBay, or the old way with a phone and connections that you've made over the years. Just because when you go to shows and stuff, you meet people, and swap meets, you meet people, and a big part of that is just networking. And you meet people and you get their numbers, and you call them. They may know a guy that knows a guy that knows a guy. And then there's your part.
So what's your aspiration? It doesn't sound like you're a car collector trying to build a collection that you're growing, that you kind of cycle through, right? What's next for you?
Just maintaining. And I realize you can only drive one at a time. So just maintaining my current one that I have. I enjoy it because, like Jane was saying, for me, the big thing is just the ability to get in and just go down the road. Just enjoy it. Just to bring yourself away from life for a moment.
Where's your favorite spot to do that kind of cruising?
Out around Leapers Fork, out down through Thompson Station.
Yeah, through the hills. And
just riding around. Just riding, going down 2-lane roads you've never been down before because you figure you can always turn around and go back where you came from if you get lost.
I like the sound of that. Jane, how about you? If you're ready to sweat in the Dodge Dart and she's being cooperative that day, I don't know if she's a she. I just assume.
Oh, she is. Her name is Blanche. Yes.
The car. Yeah. Does your truck have a name?
No, I just. Nope.
Okay, we'll just talk about Blanche. But let's say you're rolling out with Blanche. Where she, when you're picturing this, I like this floating, this cruising. Where are you driving when you're picturing that?
I don't have a specific area. It's just anywhere on the back roads. I used to take the back roads all the way up to Louisville, Kentucky. It's just a nice 4-hour drive of listening to the engine and just being there in the moment. And that is so nice.
Yeah. Well, when Donald, when you kind of look down the road, do you have anybody in your life who you specifically or feel like you're kind of passing some of this appreciation for these old cars down to?
Mainly the younger children at cruise-ins and stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
So you'll let them know. You'll give them a piece.
I will.
Well, Donald Walker, Jane Rose, thank you so much for talking shop in our Kustom Kulture episode.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Also, thanks to Tim and Carrie Strange with Strange Motion and Murpho and Colette with Nash Speed. Thanks for tuning in this hour. This is Nashville is a production of Nashville Public Radio. Today's episode was produced by Josh Steepen. It was directed by Tasha A.F. Limley, who also gets a producer credit today. Our board operator is Liv Lombardi. Masterminds behind our theme music are LaRange and Namir Blade, though that's not who you're hearing right now. We're listening to Jane still. And special thanks to Nate Smith for his help with our YouTube video streaming. Looks great. Watch it, Nashville Public Radio's YouTube page. You can also listen back at thisisnashville.org or wherever you get good podcasts. The conversation does not have to end. You can comment, tell us what you want to hear on the show by leaving us a message at 615-751-2500. I just changed the voicemail greeting, so you'll leave a message for us. You can also find us on the socials at This Is Nashville. This is Nashville. I'm Blake Farmer. Go in peace.